Okay. And we're live. Ladies and gentlemen, my name's Glenn Carlson. Thank you for tuning in, whether you're tuning in live or whether you are tuning in the replay. I can see your comments coming through here, so I appreciate any comments that you want to put in, any likes, any cute little hearts. Helps the algorithm hack. I appreciate that. Here I'm talking about the headline that consistency beats intensity. This is a bit of an idea that I've been sharing from my own experience with a bunch of our clients, and it's really been helping them out as well. So I want to share it with everybody out in the interwebs, all of you entrepreneurs out there. And this kind of harks back to, well, really what I'm talking about is in the context of sales, in the context of marketing, building a rhythm and pulse. The way that I used to approach sales and marketing was through running major conferences and major events. We do about 8 of them a year here in Australia. Hey, Paul, how you going, brother? Thanks for tuning in. And big things, big, expensive, complicated, time-intensive, human capital-intensive events. I'll show you. I've got a few photos that I put together just so you guys got some context, right? And it was these big events. So, you know, packing out NIDA, big conferences, 500 plus people, 700 plus people, not just here in Australia, over in the UK, the USA, Singapore, all around the world, running these kind of major conferences, right? And so there's a significant degree of, I'll just get rid of those, right? But like, and look, don't get me wrong, these events, great fun, and they helped us grow our business really rapidly, like really rapidly. We became the ninth fastest growing company in Australia, but it burnt so cash. Have you ever heard the saying that growth sucks cash? Well, I can tell you growth sucks cash fast. And so we were growing really quickly. Our revenue was skyrocketing, but our profit was dropping. And that's not a very good feeling. Now, this was before Facebook. This was before the power of really online was kind of taking off. And to be honest, we were probably a little bit behind in shifting the model from those physical events to online. Now, the problem that our business model had that we went and fixed, and I'm now helping fix everybody else's business model, is, oops, that's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to do this. I'll just show you. So our business model, we do those events, and just before every event, we'd have to spend a shitload of money. And just after every event, we'd have all this cash come in, but we were riding this crazy cash flow roller coaster. Now, we were doing this at a degree of scale. So at the very, at least millions of dollars was coming in when it was coming out, but then it'd all go out again. Then it'd be a desert. Then it'd all come in again. Then it'd all go out again. The way I see this working for a lot of smaller businesses is they'll go out and do the work, or they'll get the work, then they'll do the work, then they'll have no work, then they'll panic, and then they'll have to go out and do the work again. It's this intensity that grabs us. It's like, holy shit, I gotta go hustle or it's all gonna fall apart type of a thing. And that's really stressful. It's really exhausting. So I want to show you a little bit of a better way to approach it. So essentially what we did is we disengaged ourselves from this concept that we got to put everybody in an event in front of us. I mean, the reality is this is TV, right? This is what's got everybody's attention. You don't need me to tell you this, but maybe you need to be thinking a little bit harder about how you can make the most of it. Because what we started to find, it was getting harder and harder and more expensive to get people showing up to these big one-day conferences at the same time that it was getting easier and easier to get people's attention on this thing. So long as, and I'll give you some insights on this, so long as you're showing up as the go-to person in your industry. See, the thing about our business is we were showing up as the go-to person in our industry, right? We had the books, the blogs, the articles, the podcasts, all that kind of stuff. So when we started really playing in the digital space, we got some really powerful leverage. But essentially, instead of, and I'll switch back again, this crazy kind of up and down model, what we did is we just started putting out lots and lots of content online and inviting people to little events all the time and inviting people to little online webinars and little online courses, right? Little things that literally just don't require any effort to set up whatsoever. They're not big and grand, but they were super cheap. And here's the crazy thing that started happening, certainly for us. First of all, our overall revenue continued to grow. So we actually were making more money on the top line. But what's really interesting is we were making a lot more money on the bottom line as well. So our profitability over the last sort of 2 years has gone through the roof. We're making more profit as a global group than we ever have by an order of magnitude, like serious growth in that consistency. And so what I encourage people to do is to create a bit of a choke point in their marketing. Now, let me explain what I mean by a choke point. Well, actually, maybe before I do, let me step back. What I encourage you to think about is, what is the thing that you're trying to sell more of, right? So for us, we're in the business of taking people through a 12-month accelerator program. We help them position themselves as go-to people in their industry. It's a $20,000 value product, and that's what we want to sell. Now, we have some conditions around that. There's a selection criteria. We can't work with anybody, and you'll have your own kind of criteria, I'm sure, for who you're going to work with. But the point is, think about what's the thing you want to sell. Then think about what's the way in which you want to present that value. What is the way in which you want to present that value? So the way we used to present the value, for those of you that are just sort of tuning in, like we used to do these big major events all around the world, right? So from the US, Singapore, big conferences, that's where we would present the value, right? Super expensive way to do it, and super intense as well. Sorry, I've just lost my mouse. And a super intense way to do it as well. So what we did is we switched, right, to now what I do, and we have other city leaders in all of our cities around the world doing this, but what I do as the co-founder is I run a little workshop every 3 weeks right here in Sydney. You can check it out if you want to come along to it. You can come along to it. It's kpiworkshop.com. That'll take you to the link. But I do this little workshop, and I do it with 30 people. It's a select group. It's all people that have kind of already been interacting with me, my content, our methodology, and they're like, yeah, I want to go deep into this stuff. I want to get some insights around how to become more of a go-to person. Now, since we've done, and that has become our choke point. So I want you, that's how we present the value. So I want you to think about, how do you want to present that value? And this is kind of what it looks like. I'll show you right now. So I want you to imagine everything in the top of this funnel is your marketing. However you're doing that. And then down here are your products and services. What I recommend is that what a lot of people do is they kind of go, oh, they get a lead and that lead wants to catch up for coffee or come into their office, or like, can you meet me on a Tuesday? What about in the afternoon? How about we have a phone call? And it's this chaotic way. My little thing's not working right. It's this chaotic way of onboarding people. So what I recommend is you have this section in here, like a choke point, that all roads of your marketing lead to Rome. If someone calls it through to talking to your secretary, they guide them through to that. If someone comes through online, that guides them to that. If you meet someone at a pub, you guide them to that. The idea is that everybody comes through this presentation, which has been specifically engineered to promote, to advocate, to inform the products and services that you want to sell. Now, here's the next stage in that. What I recommend you do with the next stage is you create a rhythm and pulse. And this is where I'm just going to see if I can, I'm going to open a deck. This is where is it here? I'm going to find it in just a second. Whereabouts are you guys tuning in from, by the way? Let me know. Laps, product. There we go. What you then do is once you know what that presentation is going to be, I probably should have had this up beforehand. Then what you do, I'm going to share my screen again here now. Then what you do is you get yourself a calendar and you focus in on when are you going to run these presentations. Now, we used to do these big events and conferences twice a year per city. And, well, we got people from Melbourne, London, Perth, Brisbane, international, ladies and gentlemen. So what we decided to do was create this rhythm and pulse, right? Where every couple of weeks I do these events. I don't do it as regularly as is on here now anymore, but you can get the idea. Like, we just get a calendar out and we plan it, but we plan a consistent rhythm. So here's something that I want to check in with you guys, right? Because one of the things that I found was that when I was doing sales and then I'd switch to working in the business, that would be like super exhausting. So I'd go from like working in the business or training team or do whatever, and then I'd go to sales, and then I go back to the business, back to sales, back to the business, back to sales, back to business, back to sales. You become this kind of bipolar crazy person, and it's really freaking exhausting. And so what we started doing was just batching it and going, okay, every 3 weeks I do this presentation, my team would follow up afterwards, and all of a sudden I only have to be on in that particular period of time. And what that did for our business was really, really incredible. And I've helped, I don't know, a couple hundred other businesses do the same thing, where it's like, let's say you're a financial planner, financial advisor, buddy of mine does the same thing. He now just goes, right, he only meets with people on a Thursday. So now all of his marketing funnels people into these Thursday meeting slots, which means instead of him having to live in near the city, he's now got a beautiful beach house an hour and a half away in a gorgeous location, living the dream with his new family and crushing it. Now, what that means is he's created a rhythm and pulse. Every Thursday is presenting, making sales day, but the rest of the week can be strategic working in the business or delivering value. And that rhythm and pulse, that consistency makes more profit than you would trying to scramble around for big numbers going from this feast to famine. And I see it all the time. I see people focusing on delivery, forgetting about sales, and then having to try and scramble with this level of intensity that doesn't work. It's not profitable. It's scary. And I think it breaks a lot of businesses. Whereas the numbers don't need to be massive. You don't need to be running these big, massive conferences like we used to. Trust me. I have no interest in going back to those big mega conferences because we're creating more value for our customers than ever before. We're leveraging technology online like this better than we ever have before. We're attracting leads cheaper than we ever have before. And look, come along to my workshop, or if you can't, if you're in Perth or wherever, check out kpiwebinar.com. I actually go through a bunch of our stats. I talk about our cost per lead, our overall revenue per lead. I break down how all of our online marketing works, how we bring things into that kind of presentation choke point, if you will. And what that does is it just creates a focus. It creates a rhythm and it creates a pulse with our marketing that is really transformational. And it really doesn't matter if you're an architect, if you're a real estate agent, if you're a financial advisor or a business advisor or whatever you do, the secret, the key is getting your calendar. And the beauty of this is you can map out all your holidays first. Get all your holidays, lock them in, then build your presentations around the holiday. Doesn't have to be you doing it. My team does most of this now, but I'm just talking to you about how we kind of got started with it. And because it's that rhythm and pulse now, your team can plan for it, your marketing team can plan for it. It's in there. You can be running predictable numbers and predictable stats. It really is a big shift. So that's my thing to encourage you guys. Create one focused choke point, if you will, where all of your prospects come to kind of get a sense in terms of, is it a good idea for them to work with you or not? Schedule that presentation weekly, fortnightly, but no more than fortnightly really is what I would recommend. Like every week or every 2 weeks with a rhythm and a pulse that just doesn't fail. Get to the point where the presentation is so consistent, you can then delegate that to other people like I have, and then you free yourself for your business, allowing the thing to scale. Love your thoughts in terms of how you guys handle your rhythm and pulse. And again, that can be one-to-many. It can be one-to-one. It can be live. It could be on a webinar. It could be a live workshop. And again, for those of you that have just started tuning in, if you want to come along to one of the workshops that I host, where I talk about how to become a key person of influence. We've worked with over 3,000 businesses now over the last 9 years, helping them position themselves as go-to people in their industry. So if you want to check that out here in Sydney, feel free to just go kpiworkshop.com. Otherwise, if you're international, check out kpiwebinar.com. I kind of do the same thing, but like in an abridged version. My goal is to help you position yourself as that go-to person, that key person of influence in your industry, not just so you can create more, but so we can all contribute more, make a bit of a dent in the universe. That's all for me this evening. Consistency beats intensity, ladies and gentlemen. That's all from me. Be brave. Have fun. Let's go make a dent in the universe.